What's up, everybody? It's your boy Wes Grant. You're watching Sub Urban Nerd, this channel where I give my nerd views on today's nerd news. Well, today I'm giving my reviews on the show, as you can call it, yes, The X-Files. And I have to say, it is back into form. This is for season 11, episode 3, titled Plus One. And like I said, it's back to form because the season premiere wasn't too, like, it was okay, but Mulder didn't feel like Mulder. Scully felt like Scully, but Mulder didn't feel like Mulder. Episode 2, they're back in the groove. Mulder definitely was like feeling more like himself, and the episode was feeling a little bit more jiving. But episode 3, this one is back to form. The monster of the week, you know, how they meet up with whatever thing happens and they solve it by the end, and that's what we all love, you know what I'm saying? Like, we love yes, we do like the whole over arc thing, but the whole, like, every week there's a different thing they gotta solve. The X-Files is what we want. Like, sure, we love the grandioso thing, but X-Files is why we tuned in, and that's what's back on here. So it starts off, like I said, this kid is rocking out, goes to a rock party, and then like he sees himself while he's doing the crowd surf, and then it's freaking him out. He jumps off the crowd surf, goes searching, doesn't see himself, goes back outside, jumps in the car because he's freaked out trying to go home, and then that's when all of a sudden he looks to his right. There's a version of himself. It's right there, looking at him all creepy. Grabs the steering wheel, and he's trying to fight with it, and then all of a sudden swears him off the road. Slams into a tree, he flies right out the windshield. I thought the dude was dead, personally. But then all of a sudden, you see Mulder talking to Scully, and apparently the guy is alive. And this is where it's an X-Files, because the guy claims that he sees himself. And this is not the first time that people have claimed that they've seen himself. But this is the first time that the guy has been alive for them to talk to. So that's why they go and investigate it. At first, you know, Scully is like, yo, the dude's drunk. The dude was like out of his mind. He just stepped on a wheel, whatever, and that's what happened. And Mulder's like, not too sure. Yes, the guy is like, sure, he's a little off, but let's go check it out. So they go to the area where the crash or whatever, and then he's like, you see these tire tracks? It's basically where you could tell they were stepping on the brakes, and then someone was stepping on the gas at the same time. And she was like, yo, it could be that it's just like he was just so out of his mind drunk, they didn't know what happened. And he was like, yes. And then she was like, do you actually believe his story? And then Mulder's like, I don't believe that, like, it's not the fact that I believe him, it's the fact that I believe he's too stupid to make this up. So that's what's crazy. So then I guess they investigate, and they go to a mental institution for some reason, but that's where they go run into this lady that's crazy, has split personality. Her name is Judy, and she's kind of like hitting on Mulder because she's kind of liking the way he looks, and she ain't too fond of you know, Scully, but it's sort of creepy. And the funny thing is, she's eating this thing, a can of, like, it's called Dookie, which I think is like the worst name for anything in a can. Like, I don't see how that could even have been like a brand of marketing, because apparently she flings the Dookie at everyone. Double entendre kind of, like, you know, thing. But yeah, it was already weird. Like, I was like, what wouldn't be named Dookie? D-O-O-K-I-E. I don't understand why you would even think to name anything. But like I said, it's a show, and yeah, they talk to her. Talk split personalities as far as, like, does she know anybody? And apparently the dude's name, it was written in a hangman. And then they were like, yeah, so you don't know this person? She was like, no, I don't know this person. So they kind of left it at that. But after they go away, and then you see them, the kid's being locked up, put back in jail, but with his handcuffs behind his back, which I thought, like, once you go into jail that they kind of take that off, but apparently not. So they bring them in. And then, he turns around and sees himself in a cell. And he starts screaming for the guards to let him out. But, you know, of course they don't. And then they cut back over to Mulder and Scully. And that's when you see, like, they're at the hotel. This is where it gets kind of funny. Where like, a lady opens up the thing. And she's like, we don't got that many rooms. We just had one cancellation. It's a suite. And then before Scully could even say something, Mulder's like, we'll take the suite. And then Scully looks over to him, and then the lady's like, we have a pull-out bed in the suite if you want. And then Mulder's looking at her like, I just want some shut-eye. You know what I'm saying? It's like, don't get it twisted. I mean, granted, it's weird, because I think they've done it, but I don't know. In all the seasons, I think they've done it. That's crazy for you to not even be able to tell. But regardless, so they go, and Scully gets a bed. Mulder's, you know, sleeping on the couch, and then Scully turns around and is freaked out because Mulder's just lurking over her. And she was like, what are you doing here? And he was like, that bed looks comfy. And then she was like, yeah, it is. So, and he was like, well, kid's dead. So they go over to the cell, and then that's when they see, like, the kid's hung by his, by his belt on the cell or whatever. And that the lawyer's like, what's going on? Like my client did not want to die. You know, I know he didn't want to die. Someone's gonna sue. Someone's getting sued. So then you look over, you see the security guard talking or whatever to the FBI or whatever, and then that's when they kind of split off and do their thing. You know, Mulder's questions someone, Scully's questions someone, and then Mulder goes over to the security guard's house, which that's what the security guard has like creepy ass eyes. Like they're just like, he seemed like a cartoon character on the real. He really seemed like a cartoon character. If you're watching this, if you've seen the episode, yo, you agree with me. He looks like a cartoon character. So, you know, they go into the house, and then that's when, like, you know, they kind of have a little banter back and forth, and Mulder's like, yo, this like some hoarding shit. Like, you're lucky. If a fire marshal came up in here, you'd be lucky. And then the guy turns, you ain't talking to no fire marshal, are you? And then I'm like, yo, this guy, like I said, legit cartoon. And then that's when they have a little banter back and forth about, like, oh, the guy's like, oh, the city's like, you know, definitely needs to be cleaned because, like, you don't know what lurks beneath. And then Mulder has this smug remark like, yo, I'm FBI, I'm not an archaeologist, I'm not digging nothing. And then that's when the guy's like talking like, yo, well, anyways, I got body parts in the fridge, which, you know, he's just joking. And that's because Mulder's walking by the fridge, and that's when he has a banter. He was like, yo, you good twin, bad twin, what's going on? Like, you seen him play Hangman too. And that's when, you know, they're like, you jump back over to Scully. Scully goes over to see the girl, and the girl is like split her personality. It's someone crazier now, where it's flinging the dookie at the door, and they kind of have their talk. And then basically the lady says, you're old, you're shriveled up, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, like, Mulder doesn't want you or whatever. He wants a real woman like me. Just like I said, this lady's real creepy too. But then that's when you know, they kind of join back up after that. And, you know, they talk their whole drive. And that's one thing, like, the banter back and forth between Mulder and Scully. This is what we all came for. Like, I love it. Like, the whole science talk with Scully, the whole suspicious and like, theories talk with Mulder. And definitely loved it. It's back into form. Talk about the concept of the devil. And then the lawyer starts seeing himself freaking out. And, like, he sees himself while he's getting some food. He drives home. Meanwhile, what's it called? He drives back up to see Mulder and Scully. He tells them, like, I'm seeing myself, and they're like, yo, just go home, don't do nothing, like, yo, just be safe. And then that's when they go back to the hotel, and then that's when, like, the guy, apparently he sees himself, but he's like, yo, he's unloading like guns. Yo, he's got a lot of stuff that could kill himself, and he's got the swords and cuts himself, and then all of a sudden he sees himself with the sword, and he's like, you know, cuts commercial break. But you know what happened? They come back, and yo, the dude's head is cut off, and they're like, Mulder's like, you're trying to say this guy had the force to cut his head off? And then Scully's like, yo, weirder things have happened. So then that's when they're like, yo, no, like, something's weird, something's off, we need to stop them. And they kind of go to get their sleep, but then I guess apparently they've been pushing too much, so they're on a Hangman game too. So then all of a sudden you see these, they start seeing themselves. Like, Scully sees herself first, and then Mulder, when they were sleeping in the room, he sees himself. But this is after like they had this nice little warm talk where they're in a bed and, you know, like cuddling, because Scully just is freaked out, and they're talking about, you know, like, if they said this one thing that I thought was funny, that Mulder says, she was like, what if you find someone? And he was like, what if you find someone? He's like, yeah, but what if we don't? And he was like, well, if you don't, like, you know, I'll be there for you. I'll push you in a wheelchair with my wheelchair. You know, it's like, that's what's kind of funny, because, you know, you can tell they love each other. But, yeah, but after that whole touch of moment, that's when the whole thing starts happening, where, you know, Mulder goes to the bathroom, sees himself, he's freaked out, and then they both split off, and Scully goes over to the girl. Meanwhile, Mulder goes over to the guy. And while this is happening, I guess they had the brother and sister had issues that they were playing Hangman, because that's what's been happening. They've been playing each other, and whoever that they trying to put the name dies. So there, we thought it was Mulder and Scully, but apparently not, or they didn't. They had issues with each other, and they killed each other. So by the time, you know, Mulder and Scully gets to the thing, so they didn't really solve the crime. The crime solved itself, which it's happened in X-Files, but I like it when they sort of solve the crime and they, you know, they stop it. But hey, like, being lucky, that's a power, I guess. So they both survived. It was, like I said, Monster of the Week. We loved it. Episode was great. And that's pretty much my review. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, you know, my talk, whatever, and the theme music I try to get behind me as well. And remember to like, comment down below, because I like to talk about these shows too. If anyone likes to talk about this, any questions, like, talk to me, because like I said, I watch these things too. I pay attention to details. So if you bring up something, most likely I've caught it too, and we'll talk about that. So remember to subscribe, check out my last review of the video, and check out my playlist over here. So remember, I'm Wes Grant. You've been watching Suburban Nerd, and you've just been nerdified. Catch you guys on the next review.